Okay, good evening all. Welcome to the Northampton Business School MBA webinar presented by myself, Professor Tim Campbell. I'm a visiting Professor of International Management at the University of Northampton and also a tutor on the MBA programme. So what I'd like to do for you tonight is give you a short presentation about the programme itself. Just some highlights really. I'm sure your academic consultants at Stafford have sent you lots of information about the programme, so I'm just going to give you some highlights from my perspective. Then after that 15 minutes, I'll take some any questions that you might have about the programme and the academics of the programme or anything at all. So let me begin first just with the presentation. And I won't begin with the MBA programme firstly. I'm going to start with Stafford because I think it's important that you understand how the good people who got you to this webinar, and I'm sure you've been talking to and have been sending you information, those are your academic consultants from Stafford. It's important to know how Stafford fits in to the University of Northampton programme. So Stafford itself was founded more than 25 years ago in the Gulf and is the very first provider of distance learning education. And then it's grown since then and is currently a resource centre for 5 British universities, Northampton, of course, being one of them. And again, I'm sure you've seen the website, but it offers various programs all the way from certificates all the way up to doctorates. But what Stafford does, it offers marketing and recruitment and administration services to the UK university. So for example, in terms of Northampton, it's much easier to recruit from the region by Stafford, talking to our consultants and sending information and marketing and then collecting all your documents and sending them to the university. That's far more easier to do from here in the region than it is to do for the university on campus. So that's what Stafford's role is. It's essentially taking that marketing, student recruitment role, processing your documents, all of this type of thing, all this administration type of thing in the region, making it easier for the university and for you guys as well. But what's very important is once you enroll on the program, you are a student of the University of Northampton, not in any way of Stafford. You're just an administration help in the region. You're a university of the student, a student of the University of Northampton. You're bound to all the policies and procedures. The academics come from the University of Northampton, and of course your degree will come from the university. And once you get to the end, I'm sure you'll go to the graduation ceremony at the university as well. So I just want to make it clear how the two fit together. Now, Northampton itself, the university, on this slide, I've got a great big arrow pointing to Northampton. It is an old historic town in England. It's about 1 hour by train north of London. And it's a very historical place and has been, it appears throughout British history. And education actually first appeared in Northampton some 900 years ago, so an awfully long time ago. And of course, it's in Northampton that you will find the current University of Northampton. It used to be just on the outside of the city, on the suburbs. But in August of this year, just recently opened, they built an entirely new campus right in the middle of the city. And this slide here, it's everything within that red dotted boundary, an entire campus. And I've been there, I was there just soon after the opening, and it really is an incredible place. Fantastic. Fantastic facilities for students, student unions, teaching areas, even has its own hotel, and all manner of different things. But it was nearly $500 million US to actually build this campus. But a good indication of the sort of investment that the university is doing. And in fact, I'm going to be back there again next week to the graduation ceremony, where 45 of our University of Northampton MBAs are graduating. So just a few highlights of the university itself. First thing, it's been awarded the Teaching Excellence Framework Gold Award. There's only 2 tables that the UK government itself administers. and that universities must put themselves in for. They can't opt out, or it's something that they all must do. One is called the Research Excellence Framework, and one is called the Teaching Excellence Framework. Now, for you guys joining a taught degree, this is the most relevant one for you. And the University of Northampton was awarded a gold. They're broken down into gold, silver, and bronze. And Northampton got the highest rank for its teaching. And I've just put here the UK Government Teaching Excellence League table, the government review stating teaching was of the highest quality found in the UK. And certainly you'll see that in the workshops for the MBA programme. The teaching is consistently rated as outstanding. Some other highlights for the university: it's been shortlisted by the Times Higher Education for Outstanding Business School of the Year 3 years in a row, and only 6 of more than 120 business schools in the UK are shortlisted each year. It's recently been the #1 UK university for employability, which is a measure of how many graduates go into employment or further study. And that percentage has been the highest of all UK universities recently. And it shows how much employers value the degrees from Northampton. And also for value-added education, which is another measure of teaching quality. It's been awarded its Royal Charter, which is very important. You cannot call yourself a UK university and award degrees without your Royal Charter. And it's globally recognised because the off-campus programs are taught all around the world. Of course, in this region, but also in Asia, and Hong Kong, Singapore, and Vietnam, and all the way down to New Zealand, and then up in the Americas, and all over the place. So the good thing about being a graduate of Northampton, studying there, is the university is becoming known not just in the UK, but globally. Right, let's get on to talking about the programme. This now is the MBA programme from the University of Northampton. It has, as you can see, 8 modules. I won't go through them all, but you see it's got sort of what we would call fundamental MBA topics. And these are the sorts of things that all MBA programs will have, such as organizational behavior, human resource management, accounting, finance, marketing, strategy, these types of things that are an integral part of any MBA program. Because, by the way, the whole MBA came about in the first place, the idea of it was that managers must understand all of the different functions of the business if they're going to manage effectively. So that's why all MBA programs will teach you the different functions of business. But it's also got some contemporary topics, such as critical issues in business, which talks about ethics and CSR and risk and technology and all these types of things. It's got a whole module on leadership, which is a very important topic nowadays. We don't talk so much about managers these days, we talk about leaders. So it's a nice mix of the fundamental and some of the contemporary topics that we talk about as well. So there's 8 modules. How it's taught, well, from start to finish, it takes about 18 months. And there's 7 workshops in total. So if I just go back to that other slide. There we go. The first 2, critical issues in business and managing organizational behavior, they're taught together as one workshop over 3 days. Then about 10 weeks later, you'll come back and do 2 days over weekends, Fridays and Saturdays. You do the next module. About 10 weeks later, you do the next one, and so on until you finish. Okay, so it's one module after the other. The only difference being the very first workshop, which is 3 days instead of 2. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. All of the workshops after that are linked to a module and are on a Friday and a Saturday. So as I've said, the workshops are about 10 weeks apart, and we're getting close to the next start date, the 20th intake, believe it or not, which will start on the 21st of February 2019, with all the workshops in the UAE. So that first workshop will be the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of February. And so I'm often asked what happens in these workshops. Now, this will depend a little bit on the topic and the tutor. Every workshop is taught by a subject expert, so it's a different tutor for every workshop. For your accounting and finance, for example, it'll be a numbers person. For organizational behavior, it's me as an organizational behaviorist. You'll have a marketeer for marketing, etc. But generally what we do is we try over the 2 days to introduce the key concepts, theories, authors in the field, fundamental stuff. We do this not by lecturing for 2 days, but by using short case studies, exercises, business games, whatever your tutor decides is appropriate. We'll also help you find resources, and very importantly, we'll how to successfully complete the assignments. And that's generally what we'll do over those 2 days. And then after that time, you'll be supported by the online resources, what we call the NILE site, Northampton Integrated Learning Environment. It's just a virtual learning environment. Every module has one where we post all sorts of information about the module. And then that will be your reference after the face-to-face workshop. Speaking of assessment, all modules are assessed through some form of an assignment. So it could be an essay, a report, a case study. The accounting module has a multiple choice quiz as one of its assessment techniques, but there are no exams on this. And the reason being that Northampton prefers the ideas of assignments where people have the opportunity to think about what they're reading, to think about what they're writing, to find resources, whereas exams can be more about how much you can remember. And your big project is the business research project. Some of you will, I'm sure a lot of you would have done this as an undergraduate, it's essentially a dissertation, and it's 15,000 words. So all of your other assessments for each module are much smaller, and then your big assessment is your business research project, or as I say, it's essentially a dissertation. Entry requirements. Standard, usually it's a bachelor's degree and 2 years of relevant work experience. Non-standard is if you don't have a bachelor's, and we get quite a number on the program who don't, but they'll have a lot more work experience. So either way, and when I say relevant work experience, you don't need to have the title of manager. In fact, that's becoming less common these days. They tend to use team leader or something else. But relevant means that you can demonstrate managerial responsibilities. So you have some involvement in planning, organizing, leading people, controlling work, that type of thing. And most of you will find if you dig down into your jobs, you do have these types of responsibilities. Lots of support for the program. There's the international program leader, which you'll meet on the program. She takes a module. There's a local program leader. You'll meet, that's me, which you'll meet in the very first workshop. As I mentioned, every module has an expert tutor. There's administration. Of course, all of the university resources are open to you, but there's also the local administration at Stafford if you need to be pointed in the direction of where to find somebody. The NILE I mentioned, a VLE for every single module we have, where we post everything, slides, videos, whatever we think is useful to help you complete the module. And the university itself has an extensive electronic online library. You don't need to find any other library or anything else. All the resources you need to complete your assignments successfully, you'll find electronically through the library. Just a couple more things from me. Why the Northampton MBA? And these are just really some bullet points that I think I've taught on many different MBA programs over the years, and this is why I think Northampton's particularly good. And I'll show you this in a moment, but for being a taught program with fly-in faculty, it's a very competitive price. The duration's just about right. It's not too long, so people lose motivation, and it's not too short, where it becomes difficult to fit in with your existing commitments. 18 months seems to be a pretty good period of time. It's most manageable, I think. You've got the support from Northampton and local. There are no exams, which is a plus for most students. And it strongly emphasizes vocational learning as well as theories, the practical stuff about managing. And this is attractive to employers who are more interested in practical knowledge, and also makes studying for the MBA program more enjoyable and relevant to the students. I mentioned the price. As I said, very reasonable for the next intake, February 2019. There's a grant from Stafford of nearly 10,000 dirhams, making the entire course fee just under 60,000 dirhams, which can of course be broken down into monthly installments, and your academic consultants will send you all the information about that. But as I mentioned, for this type of a good, solid, with a good UK governmental degree with fly-in faculty that's taught, it's pretty reasonable. That's it. I did it in 15 minutes, just about exactly, I think. Pretty close. So that's just my highlights of the university, if you like, and the MBA program. Now, any questions you have, and because I've got quite a big group of you, the easiest way to do it is to use your question on the right there. And then I'll go through and answer as many as I can, which just makes it easier rather than having to open microphones and things. As I say, I teach on the program, so I know it very well. So ask me anything about entry or the academics of it or anything you like. And I have a question. I'm just going to open my box up. Okay, I have completed a postgraduate diploma from another university. Can I get exemptions? Yes, absolutely you can. If you completed a level 7 postgraduate diploma, you'd be eligible to go straight to the MBA top-up. And for that, you just need to do the modules Critical Issues and the Business Research Project. So if you do have a level 7, which is a master's level diploma, that you've done somewhere else, please do ask your consultant at Stafford for information about the MBA top-up. Next question is the English language requirements. And do I need an IELTS? No, you don't need an IELTS unless you'll be specifically asked for one. But if you're through in the admissions process, you'll be taken through an interview. And through that, I shouldn't call it an interview, it's a discussion perhaps. And through that discussion, they'll look at your English, they'll assess your English language requirements. So you don't need to do an IELTS or a TOEFL or anything like that. Surely there must be more questions. That's it, and that's the least questions I've ever had. Thank you, Ali. He's given me. Thank you for giving me another question, Ali. I have many years management experience. Can I get exempted from any subjects? Not with experience, I'm afraid. Although that will help you an awful lot on the program, because a lot of your assignments will be focused on your working practice. So it will help, but we can't exempt modules because of experience. Because, for example, you might be a marketer, be a marketeer and have done marketing for 20 years. But I'm sure once you do a marketing module and look at the academics of it, you may well find there's still things that you never knew. So I bet you'll learn something as well. Oh, well, they've all come at once. Well, maybe it was my system. Where was I? Oh, this is a good question. Why does this MBA not have an AMBA accreditation, and is this necessary? Yeah, some of you will be aware of some programs are accredited by the private body, the Association of MBAs. Now, that's something that a university will elect to follow or not. If they decide we want our program to be accredited by AMBA, they will pay a considerable amount of money, and then the Association of MBAs will audit all of the MBA program, and at the end of it, you can get an AMBA stamp. The reason for, well, firstly, I don't really see the reason for doing it, because all UK governments are audited by the Governmental Quality Assurance Agency anyway. So I'm not sure why you need to be audited again. To be honest, a lot of UK universities will do that because that stamp means they can charge extra for your MBA program. So essentially, do your research, is up to you. If you think it's worth it, if you think in the future, if you're going for a new job, for example, and the person's going to ask you, did you go to an AMBA accredited MBA program? Firstly, I think I've hardly ever heard of that before, but if you think it's important for you, then do your research and see what you think. For me, a good UK governmental university and MBA program is plenty good enough for most people. Israel. Do students from the Middle East need a foundation year to improve your English? No, you don't. No. And the good thing about the Middle East is the standard of English is very good, as you would know, because it's something that's used on a day-to-day basis. I've taught over in Hong Kong and different parts of Africa and Singapore, and places where there really is a challenge, English. But in the Middle East, it tends to be better because it's used so much every day. So you don't need to do that. Can I apply for the program if I do not have my academic documents with me? I have 6 years management experience. Leon, talk to your academic consultant at Stafford about that, and then that person will have to see what you've got. But to apply, you would need to get your if you have a bachelor's degree, you would need the degree and transcript. But talk to your consultant at Stafford who'll be able to help you with that, and find out the reasons behind that. In your opinion, is the MBA very difficult? Do you think I will manage as I have a high position with lots of responsibility? Oh, good question. You know, it's a master's degree from a UK university, so it's not going to be easy. But that said, we get very good pass rates, and everybody who takes this program is working. So they're all managing the same responsibilities as well as family commitments, and people do manage it. So I know from experience that we have very good pass rates, so people do manage that balance. Mona is, oh, hang on, I missed one. There's one. What would happen if I cannot attend workshops? Will any materials handed out by the tutor be provided for me? All the materials will be put on the NILE site. Remember I said that was the virtual learning environment, the site that every module has. But please try not to miss workshops. It's so important. We talk so much about the topic and how to succeed in assessments and everything else. Officially, workshops are voluntary, but we really, really do recommend them. I finished my Master's in Educational Leadership. Am I eligible, Mona? Yes, I'm sure you would be. Yeah. Bearing in mind, you still need the experience, though, the 2 years of experience. What is the maximum time I complete the MBA? It's designed to be done in 18 months, or about 18 months. I always suggest you follow along with your intake and do it in that 18 months. However, if something happens and you need to take a study break, you can take a study break for up to 1 year, and the entire MBA program must be finished within 5 years. But my advice is always do as best you can to follow along with your intake. Do I have the option to attend workshops in the UK? The program on campus is exactly the same, but the problem is it's taught differently. And over there they do, for example, in their part-time programs, it's not taught in the same weekend format as it is for us. I believe they teach actually 1 day every month. So although the modules are exactly the same and it's technically possible, it's only because the timetables don't fit that makes it more difficult than it should be. But I can say if you do want to go over and see the campus, there's a couple of things that they can do. There's beginning a summer school this year where you'll be invited over to go and participate in various activities on campus. There's also a European business event they do every year where they'll take a group of you over to some place in Europe and look at various businesses. So you're always welcome on campus. For those with the ATHE Level 7 diploma, what is the duration for the MBA top-up? MBA top-up takes usually about 9 months. Sometimes I know usually about 9 months. Just because you're fitting in with other intakes, there's a little bit variable, can sometimes be a little bit shorter, sometimes a little bit longer, but it's about 9 months. Again, if your academic consultant at Stafford will send you the timetable. What is involved in a dissertation? It's a research project, basically. Most people will do their own organisation and they'll research something that is interesting to them on any management subject, usually within their own organisation. But you're fully prepared for what you have to do. But it's actually a very good part of the MBA. It's the most rewarding part because it's when you actually find something out for yourself rather than just relying on other people's ideas. There are 5 of us that want to start this program together. Will there be a discount in the fees if we all join? I'm sure there probably would be. Talk to your academic consultant at Stafford, see what they can do for you. Where am I? What career opportunities will the MBA provide you? MBAs open up a whole world for people. It just it gives you, firstly, on your CV, it just opens up the door, the initial door, whether somebody wants to be promoted in their own organization, whether they want to move to a different organization, even if they want to move to a whole different, they want to move from a different function, from a marketer, and all of a sudden they want to be something else, a HR person. It opens up so many doors because it's a nice general degree that shows you can manage in any organization. So MBAs, they open up all sorts of doors for you, even those who want to run their own business. We've got a lot of entrepreneurs on the program now, people who want to finish with working for other organizations and do it themselves. Because again, they'll learn about marketing, they'll learn about people, they'll learn about accounting, etc., etc. So a great many different opportunities for MBAs. If I cannot attend the graduation in the UK, how do I get my certificate? It will be sent to you. The graduation department, when you get to that stage, they'll send you an email inviting you to the graduation. If you can't come, there's a little thing you click and they'll have it sent to you. But definitely recommend the graduation if you can. Well, we've certainly got plenty of questions now. Where was I? Where was it? There. Oh, personal statement. What's in a personal statement? Why is this important? What does the university look for? Looks for your motivations of why you're wanting to study. Generally getting an idea that you are for the university, that they think this is right for you and that you're going to be able to complete the program and that you've thought about it. So they'll ask about your experience and why you're wanting to do the program and what you think you're going to get out of it. Is the business project mandatory for all students? I have an industrial engineering bachelor degree with 2 years experience. It is, yes, the business project is an essential part for all students, even for top-ups. It is an important part of the degree because it teaches a lot about research skills. I've looked at the university website and the modules offered via Stafford differ than those on the website. That's a question from Ali. Shouldn't do, they should be the same. Maybe some minor differences for the full-time. But the program certainly should, certainly for the part-time, it should match. Perhaps they may be offering more options over there, but essentially they should be the same. I've completed my degree in English from a university in Saudi Arabia. No, you'll be fine for English, no problem about that. What is the interaction between students during the course, especially in the workshops? Yeah, you're going to meet a lot of people on this. One of the key things about the MBA is the networking. You'll meet people on your MBA program that you're going to be friends with for life, I'm sure. So you get to know them very well. Just a question here of why the first workshop is very important. It's because we go through all the basic things about the university and the program itself. So they're all things you're going to use for the rest of your course. So it is very important to make that first workshop. Otherwise, you're starting 2 or 3 steps behind everybody else. Will tutors check a draft? Yes, they will check drafts before your assignment's due. Yes, you have a second chance if you fail. You'll be allowed to resubmit automatically. Assignments are graded with a grading system from G, which is basically no submission, to an F, which I'm sure none of you will get, all the way up to an A, which I'm sure all of you will get. Can you study 2 modules at the same time? No, you can't. You must follow the timetable that's set out. And it would really be too much trying to do that. Going to get an extension on my assignment if I need it. Yes, you can get extensions, but there must be a valid reason for it, a medical issue or something like that. Okay. But again, as I always say to students, make sure you follow along with that timetable and the assignment submission. You don't want to get behind. I've got someone asking who's got plenty of experience. Hang on, I've just lost it. There we are. 5 years experience in marketing and 12 years in school as a KG supervisor. That would be plenty, I would think. That would certainly seem to meet the non-standard entry to me. What is the importance of the Teaching Excellence framework to this MBA? It's a measure of the teaching quality, and for taught degrees, that's very important. Can I visit my tutors in the UK? You can go to the UK and on campus anytime you like. Remember, you're a student of the University of Northampton. Hamza's saying, is there a finance module? Yes, there is, but trust me, it's nowhere near as hard as you would think. And it's taught on the basis that absolutely nobody in the room has any knowledge of finance. So it takes it right from the very, very basics. And the pass rate for that module are actually extremely good. So nothing to worry about there. How many hours do I need to study every day during the 18 months? You know, most students tell me they do something like about 8 hours a week. Of course, it depends. Some students can get away with less, they'll be more comfortable with the materials. Other students need to do a little bit more. But if I was to say, you know, what do most students say? They would say something like about that. A couple more questions. What's the difference between an executive MBA and our MBA? Actually, our MBA is an executive MBA. We just don't call it that. The distinction between executive MBA and MBAs, it's become a bit of a nonsense now. I'm really not sure. You know, originally executive MBAs were meant for your very highest people in organizations, your very senior people. And your MBA was meant for pretty much everybody else. But there seems to be no distinction now. Universities will seem to call it an executive MBA or an MBA, and no real distinction between the two. Certainly for our one, it would suit you whether you're a senior or middle in an organization. Oh, Brian's given me a good question to finish with. Taking your Northampton Stafford hat off with, interested in your comments of the common perception of the decreasing value of MBAs in general in today's society. Oh, I could go on for days about that one. I'm aware of there was some discussion, particularly after the financial crisis in 2000, 2008, about what MBAs were actually being taught. But since that time, there has been a big focus on what things are actually being taught in businesses and whether the models they're using are ethical and all of this. There's a lot more attention now to ethics and social responsibility and what's being taught in every different module. So I'm still a big fan of the MBAs. Of course, I'm an MBA myself. You know, I think it's a great value. You won't just be taught how to make money. You'll be taught also how to contribute to society. So I've taken both my hats off, but I still feel the MBA is particularly important in society today. Can I hold the program for any reason and complete it later? You can, as I said, you can have a study break, but again, you must have a reason for asking for that. Again, we don't want people just taking breaks because they feel like it, because you'll lose motivation and you won't get back into the program. The best way to complete that program, stick with your intake and make your way through it. All right, I think I've managed all of those. Right, thanks everybody, and thanks for some of those tricky questions. At this time of night, the brain's not going quite so well, but anyway. There's if you do have any questions anyway, you can always just send me an email. But thanks so much for listening, everybody. As I say, any questions I haven't covered, just send me an email. I really hope I'm going to see you at the first workshop face-to-face in person in February, on February 21st. But for now, thanks for listening, everybody. Have a good night.